Hello everyone, this is Samir from Audio Science Review. I have a follow-up to the last video I did on op-amp rolling. That's a process where people open up their amplifiers and replace these little ICs we call op-amps, operational amplifiers, and the aim being that to make them sound better. I showed in there with a dual A5 amplifier that op-amp rolling makes no measurable difference at all, and therefore that translates to no audible difference. There I had a sonic imagery discrete op-amp, and people commented that there was interest in another op-amp called the Sparkos, and they wanted to know whether that made a difference or not. And specifically, the question was asked about the Fosi V3 mono amplifier, which I've reviewed on Audio Science Review website. So I decided to take that on and just add more evidence to our testing. And here's the inside of the amplifier. Fosi makes it easy to take apart and swap out. You can see here the stock op-amp over here, and this is the Sparkos SS3602. I did not have this op-amp and I had to go buy it. The cost is about $80, but I found a 15% coupon online and applied it, and with tax and shipping and everything came to about $75. So still a lot of money considering that the stock IC is only 60-70 cents. So even less than $1, so it's about 100 times more expensive to replace it with this op-amp. And this one, unlike Duoc, has more room to put this larger footprint discrete op-amps in there. There's no capacitors next to it that could cause interference. So I went ahead and put that in there, and went ahead and made a measurement. And to keep things short, I ran a power sweep. And the power sweep is nice in that it shows you maximum power, but also shows you the noise level as this graph is decreasing, shows that the signal is getting stronger relative to noise, and therefore we implicitly know what the noise level is. And then when it starts to climb up, it means that the distortion has become stronger than noise and causes the graph to change direction. And so we can see the effect of both of those. Here I have the stock 5532P from Texas Instrument in blue, and then I have the Sparkos SS3602 in position 2. There are a couple of op-amps you could replace, but Fosi recommends if you only got one op-amp, replace it in the position 2 or the IC location 2. I wasn't about to buy a lot more of these expensive op-amps. So as we see in here, there's absolutely no difference. A little bit of wiggleness in here, just measurement error. And we see that two land on top of each other. So the noise is not changed, distortion is not changed, maximum power is not changed, and the clipping point does not change. And this is as we would expect, because a lot of these characteristics are set by other components in the system, and the differences in the op-amps sort of gets lost in there, if there is any. So here we see that there's just no difference. So this thing about black hair background and the sound stage changes and everything, any of those could change if the noise floor had changed, and you could hear it lower in that floor, but that's not the case at all. Across tons of measurement points, nothing's changed. One thing was asked that I didn't run in the last test was the frequency response, and if that changes, obviously tonality changes. And once again, we see that they're identical. They land on top of each other, no difference whatsoever, and the frequency response is the same, so the tonality cannot change. So you can't say the highs are better, lows are better, or notice this instrument, that instrument I didn't notice before. All of that, means nothing. The other criticism was, well, you ran one tone, and maybe if music's different, it's more complex, and so fine, I'll run a much more complex test tone. We call this multi-tone test. It's got 32 tones that are combined together into one waveform, and this waveform actually looks like this. I've said previously, if you listen to this, actually it sounds like organ or something. Lots of frequencies involved, and obviously this is nothing static at all. You can see how variable it is on this thing. So what does the response look like? Again, identical down to the lowest levels over here. The two graphs are just landed on top of each other, and you can't see one from the other. A little bit hard to see in here. Later on, somebody asked me to show this graph better, and I did, and I showed that it still made no difference at all. And then finally, how about ultrasonic spectrum? Maybe something has changed there, and I ran that response all the way up to 1 megahertz, so 50 times higher than the bandwidth of our hearing, and we can see even the spectrum in ultrasonic is more or less identical. Yes, there's little spikes here and there different, but in larger picture of what we're looking at in here, it's just there's no difference that would justify any whatsoever any audibility difference. So why is this the case? I mean, those devices radically look different. Those op amps, the makeup couldn't be more different. So I'll put in a few notes in here. These op amps are used. The op amp usually has a massive amount of gain. When you get it down to gain of 1, 2, or 3, or whatever, you're taking the output and bringing it to the input through a process we call feedback. And that feedback has incredible power to bring the distortion down. And when you do that, you hugely nullify differences between op amps. I'm sure if we took 2 op amps and didn't compensate for gain at all, they would show differences. But here they did not. Now, there are op amps obviously designed to be better than others, and there are performance improvements in them. But to take advantage of that, the circuit has to adapt to it, and you have to design around what it is good at. In this case, we don't have that power. All we're pulling out is the op amp, putting another one in there. And so without changing all the circuitry around it, it's unlikely that you can get any change. The other thing is that, as luck would have it, the NE5532P is an extremely good op amp for audio applications. You go above audio, all bets are off, but for audio applications, extremely good. That's why these guys can't outdo it. I don't know how much of you into video, but we've shot video and movies and film for years and years and years. And then, DVD came out, then Blu-ray came out, then 4K came out. We could still keep going back to the film and rescan it and get higher and higher resolution scans out of it. So film tended to be quite good from that point of view, that it had a lot of inherent resolution. Same with this NE5532P. Just because it's old doesn't mean that it's not a capable IC on this front. So I went ahead and post this. By the way, there was some online YouTubers, Danny from GRR and Ron from NRD, went out there and produced a set of audio samples claiming that there are audible differences with changing these op amps. Unfortunately, they made a mistake. Each one of those files had a different level, and they progressively got louder towards the one that they said sounded the best. So it's really a simple mistake. Whenever you do this kind of testing, you want to match levels. I match levels whenever I run these tests. I go back and with my analyzer and make sure that the output of the app is the same. Now, turns out that the gain of this system, as I mentioned, is decided by the external components on the amplifier, on the op amp. So you can't change the gain. But the amplifier they tested and that I tested, the Duo K5, actually has a volume control in the front. So as you open the case, you muck with it, change things, and put it back in, you can accidentally change the volume. Or, of course, some people think maybe they manipulated the files. I don't know if they have done that or not, but it's certainly critical to match levels. Otherwise, it's very easy to invalidate your test, because if the files are different volumes, we perceive them differently. Now, not only did this testing generate a lot of feedback in the YouTube video land, my own crew, as I call them on Audio Science Review, they also argue back and forth as to whether testing was right, or what if you had tested this, what if you had tested that. As part of the comments in here, one of our very knowledgeable members asked, why don't we test this op amp swapping in just a preamplifier? These are all power amplifiers, so ultimately their performance is much more limited by the Class D output IC that they're using than the preamp buffer. In other words, the buffer is probably way better than the power amplifier. So I thought that was a good idea, and I did exactly that. So in this case, it was a Fosse P4. Let me see if I have one here. Yeah. This one, Fosse, doesn't say anything about changing op amps, and for a good reason. It is pain in the neck to take apart. there are these connectors and stuff all the way in the back, and it's non-trivial to figure out how to open it. And as you can see, I haven't put it back together. I've been too lazy to try to, get it back together. But this too, you could change the op amp in it, and I don't know, the better picture over here we can see. And this is the stock op amp, and you can pull it out and replace it with this Sparkos in there. And this is all the performance we're getting is now very much focused on just this op amp. There's no power amplifier IC in here. And let's look at the performance of the system with just a stock performance. It's a very nice preamplifier, surprisingly good preamplifier for such a budget device. If you don't know about it, you want to go read my review, but it has extremely low noise and distortion in there, beats many high-priced products. And here, pay attention to this output voltage, 2.056 volts. That's how much I put in 2 volts, and it's almost exactly the same amount coming out. And then I change it to Sparkos, and we see the 2.053. So essentially identical. As I mentioned, the external resistors set the gain, so that can't change, and we're proving that can't change. And the performance is the same. The Cyanide went up to 106 from 105. That's run-to-run variation. If I let the thing sit there, it may creep up to 106 just by itself without changing the op amp. The key is that, you can look at over here the distortion products here where the noise is, this power supply hum. All of that is present, it's in the same way, and really made no difference. We could also get the dynamic range or signal noise ratio, and this is the stock op amp, 111.9, and we change to the Sparkos, and we still get 111.9. I mean, it couldn't be closer than this is. I'm sure if you get 2 different fuzzy preamps, there'll be more variations likely than this identical values that we're seeing in here. Once again, frequency response, the 2 land on top of each other, so tonality is the same. But we get to one measurement where it is not the same, and I repeated this to make sure that it wasn't run-to-run variation. And here, this is a wideband test, is 90 kilohertz bandwidth, and so we're measuring even ultrasonic harmonic distortion, and we're sweeping for distortion from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. As we get to the highest frequencies, there's a slight tilt up over here where distortion actually increases in Sparkos 3602. So it's actually not as good as 5532. No, it's not audible remotely. So, I mean, you can see that it goes from -100 to -98 or something. You're just not going to hear that difference. But it shows that our instrumentation is quite accurate. Not that we don't have the power amp stage, we could just see the 2 op amps. And technically, in this application and building an audio preamp, the discrete amplifier is actually worse. It's not as linear and as high quality when it gets to higher frequencies on this thing. And we can see that by running this other intermodulation test where we feed the system a 19 and a 20 kilohertz tone, and everything else is extra that shouldn't be there ideally. And again, this is a very good preamp, and we see that the close-in spikes are actually the same, but out here in the ultrasonics, we see that Sparkos is a little bit worse, and that's what contributed to the tilting up here. But it's really, again, this is not something we worry about as far as audibility, but technically we're able to measure. I always say if you flush your toilet, I can measure the difference with my analyzer. The sensitivity is just incredible in our instrumentation. And so we are able to detect that this Sparkos is a little bit worse, but it doesn't matter. And then, if we just want to run intermodulation tests where the 2 tones, we now test them at all different levels, not just one level, we see that the 2 more or less land on top of each other. Again, these are run-to-run variations. So we've shown now, in these recent videos, 3 different ways where these expensive discrete op amps don't do any good whatsoever. Beforehand, I've tested DACs, I've tested high performance, I think a purifier amplifier and a Hypex amplifier, and in every test, these measurements show identical results. Certainly, they don't support any notion that there are audible differences. Now, fortunately, online, there are tons of these reviews or videos where people say they hear differences. Yes, we believe you're hearing differences, but that's because you're not testing in a controlled situation. Measure the levels, make sure you haven't screwed anything up that changes levels, and then do your testing blind and repeat it a dozen times to see if you can even tell them apart reliably 8 or 9 times out of 10. And then we can get to whether there's a preference or not. So far, nobody's done that. And, there's all these claims and a few sample files they've released that just done poorly. Simple test. People in 5 minutes found out that the Danny test was invalid. People do this analysis. A lot of people know how to pull the files into an audio analysis program and instantly tell levels have shifted, and you lose all credibility when you do that. Okay, I don't plan on doing any more of these tests. It's time consuming, and I wanted to go on and do more reviews. So hopefully we won't have to argue about this. It's just very, very conclusive. Engineering tells us there's no difference. Science says there's no difference, and measurements say there's no difference. Okay, see you in a future video. Bye-bye.